Tuesday, February 12, 2019. Breaking news, Politico says that one of the women who was accusing Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of rape had a restraining order taken out against her in 2008. I will share those details with you when we start the show. Also, a group of black politicians in Virginia, they have a tight list of demands for Governor Ralph Northam if he stays in office after his blackface scandal. They also call for an investigation of the sexual assault charges filed against Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. Charlottesville City Councilman Dr. Wes Bellamy is here with the details. Extra host A.J. Calloway has been suspended over new allegations of sexual assault. He denies these allegations. We'll explain to you exactly what they are. Also, a new Congress means new staff hiring. The new Congress is more diverse than ever, but what about the new staff? We'll talk about that with Spencer Overton, president of the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. They've been tracking these hires for years. Also, New Jersey Senator and presidential candidate Cory Booker and Maryland Congressman Elijah Cummings are introducing a bill to ban the box. We'll talk about why this is so important. Also, in Arkansas, 54 members of a white supremacist violent meth gang have been indicted by the feds. Yes, white domestic terrorists. And four Miami firefighters now face criminal charges related to racist and lewd acts toward a fellow firefighter. We have the details and what it meant to the man whose family pictures were defaced. Also, students at Eastern Michigan University held a march today to protest a black doll hanging by a noose in a dorm bathroom. It's not the first time racist acts at that school have taken place. And wait until you see and hear from Alicia Keys, Reverend Frederick Haynes, as well as Susan Taylor from last night's For the Love of Our Children Gala held for the benefit of the Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Movement. All right, folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, the woman who accused Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of raping her at Duke University had a restraining order taken out against her in 2008. Henry, go to my iPad. This here is a story just posted about 22 minutes ago on Politico. And what they say is a man she was in a relationship with filed a restraining order against her as a result of him saying that she detained him against his will, refusing to allow him to leave a vacation home in Corolla, North Carolina, dented his truck, and also threatening to kill herself. According to this story, the man says that, that this woman, Meredith Watson, will call him 100 times in a day, sending him various text messages saying that she was also going to ruin his life. Now, according to this particular petition, within 30 days, the respondent was at my home and wouldn't leave, and the respondent was throwing property, and I had to call my sister over to the house to make her leave. On numerous occasions, respondent has started she was going to kill herself. This isn't the first time or occurrence. The petition said Watson called the man around 100 times a day and said, quote, "I'm going to enjoy tearing you down just as much as you enjoy tearing me down. Hang on tight because you are in for a ride," according to one of the text messages that the man transcribed on the petition. Now, the spokesperson for Meredith Watson has not commented on this particular story here. But again, Meredith Watson, she is the woman who's accused Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of Virginia of raping her. We also now know that she accused Duke basketball star Corey Maggette of also raping her when she was on campus. According to these various stories, Maggette, first of all, has said he absolutely denies any and all of these allegations. She says she went to a dean at Duke and they did nothing about it. Duke University, they've come out and said that they're going to actually investigate these allegations that she claimed that a Duke basketball player, Corey Maggette, actually raped her as well. So first of all, let's go real quick now to our panel. I want to just get them to weigh in, because obviously this has been going back and forth for the past 7 to 10 days. Spencer Overton is a president for the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. Also, we have here Malik Abdul, Republican Communications Consultant, and Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee. Scott, I'll start with you. You've had all of these various statements going back and forth. Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax released a statement earlier this week calling for an investigation by the FBI, saying he absolutely did not do these things. The spokesperson for Watson fired back that their client is ready to testify at any time. But here's what was interesting. They blasted him by saying he did not want, why would he not want there to be an impeachment hearing? Now, explain to folks the dance here where Fairfax is saying there should be an FBI investigation. Watson's folks and also Dr. Vanessa Tyson, they're saying, oh, they'll happily testify at an impeachment hearing. Why the distinction?
Well, because one's political and one's legal. The impeachment process, if there's an investigation, those are political votes, and the Republicans run the House and the Senate, or whichever one will be looking at the investigation, and politics will triumph over legitimacy as well as a criminal investigation. He wants the FBI to investigate because the FBI is independent, it's federal and what have you, but the FBI can't investigate because there's been no complaint filed, whether it's at the federal or state level. And we're within the statute of limitations. Both of these women, watch this, are still within the statute of limitations that they could file complaints. So it lends itself to, is this a political complaint these two women are making, or is this a criminal legal complaint that they're making that they just haven't filed something with the police?
Well, it's interesting because when Meredith Watson, when they released their statement, in the statement, they called for his resignation.
Right.
They sent the letter to his lawyer saying, do this by 3 p.m. or we're going to go public. Yesterday, Avis Jones-DeWeaver was on, and she said, wait a minute, hold up. If you want justice,
right,
why would you call for the resignation saying that's going to satisfy justice?
Right.
What do you make, again, of that strategy by her lawyers?
It's political blackmail. It just really is. I'm not saying that's illegal, but that's what it comes down to. But here's the other thing on the second woman. Now, I'm a former sex crimes prosecutor.
Right? Oh, you said the second woman. But Dr. Vanessa Tyson was the first one.
Right.
Who said that she forced him to have oral sex.
Right.
The second woman is Meredith Watson, who says he raped her at Duke.
Okay. So we take Watson, right? You just reported that she had this complaint against her.
This restraining order in 2008.
Right? As a former prosecutor, that's problematic because then that suggests there's some other issues there if you believe the complaint. But a TRO was issued, right? Now, secondly, you have this woman who allegedly has been raped not once, but twice while she was at Duke, told no one, filed no complaints, and now, 10, 15 years later, wants to come out and almost in political revenge for whatever reason, whether they had a relationship or not. It is rooted in politics, not in what traditionally would be a crime or even an allegation, because the police still haven't been contacted and they still don't have a complaint. And this political hearing falls in line with what their letter said to Justin's lawyers as well. That needs to be investigated, and her allegations need to be investigated, because it's hard, in my opinion. I've never heard of someone being raped twice, not reporting it in a 4-year period at a significant institution like Duke University.
Malik, again, when you look at this story, when you look at what you have here, to Scott's point, Tyson hasn't gone to Boston police or the district attorney to file a complaint. Watson hasn't gone to the DA or the police there where Duke University is to file a complaint. And so how are you looking at this in terms of, again, if you come out publicly and you want justice, well, what is the justice? Because if you file a complaint, and if it still falls within the statute, that to me is more justice than you simply resigning.
Yeah,
exactly.
My position is the same as it was with Kavanaugh. There are a lot of similarities here. You know, if you remember in the Kavanaugh case, Christine Blasey Ford, she never went to authorities. You know, she never went to the police before she sent the letter to the Congresswoman. The same questions that people have about Christine Blasey Ford, just her story. The same, questions that they have are the same questions that I have now with the accusers of Fairfax.
And those questions, by the way, because this is really important, women don't report to the police. They are embarrassed. Some of them blame themselves. Some of them just want to go away and be quiet. They're going to be attacked, embarrassed, and what have you. So that's a fair conclusion and a choice for them to make. But those factors then and 10 to 15 years later are still in play, So either you want justice, right, or you want political revenge. And I'm not passing judgment on it.
Spencer.
It's tough. I'm a friend of Justin, and so it's, tough for me to be objective about this. And obviously, we don't have any women right now on the show.
Yeah, but you're also a lawyer.
Right.
So
that's true.
You can be a friend of Justin, but you can also speak as a lawyer.
Right.
And again, I'm asking you a very specific question. What you have here is, the question is, if you come out publicly and you want justice, how do you define justice? As a lawyer, if in one case they're saying resign, but they haven't filed complaints.
And going into an adversarial situation where, evidence is going to come out and there's a full investigation, it, certainly would seem as though you're likely to get a better truth.
Get justice.
Get justice and truth, right? Now, I think their argument is going to be, hey, this is their argument. Hey, we didn't do this. We didn't bring this on ourselves. We don't want to change our lives to deal with this. We've made our statements and we want to move on. And I think that
No. But yesterday, Watson's lawyer released a statement saying they are more than ready to testify in an impeachment hearing, that they have documentation, that they will present emails as well. And so this is what their lawyers are saying. So what I'm hearing,
why not go to the police?
So what I'm hearing is we are more than willing to testify at an impeachment hearing, but to Scott's point, well, you haven't filed an actual criminal complaint.
And you don't want to really test if I'm Justin Fairfax, I don't necessarily want to test them doing it, but because they could do it. But watch for this strategy now, right? Why doesn't Majette and Justin Fairfax, if they're denying it, and now there's all this stuff out here on one or both of the women, but the second woman, Watson, then watch for them, or at least behind the scenes considering whether they file a civil lawsuit against both women, denying it and alleging defamation and perhaps all those things along those lines of defamation. Watch that as a strategy, because if that comes out, that strengthens their case in regard to the public and political opinion.
Got it, folks. Now, a group of over 100 black political leaders in Virginia have released a statement today calling for an investigation into the allegations and if proven true that Fairfax should resign. On this same group, Virginia black politicos and friends called on Governor Ralph Northam and Attorney General Mark Herring to resign over involvement with blackface as young adults. Now, but if they don't, which seems more and more likely every day, the group has a series of very specific steps they want both men to take. Here to break this down is Charlottesville City Councilman Dr. Wes Bellamy, a leader of the Virginia Black Politicos and Friends. Councilman, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you, good brother. I appreciate you having me.
So first and foremost, Governor Northam has made it clear he is not resigning. He says he's now going to focus on the issue of racial equity for the rest of his term. Attorney General Mark Herring has not made any moves to resign. What is it that you specifically and the Virginia Black Politicos and Friends, what do you want both of them to do?
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. Really honored to be on the show. There are a variety of different things in which we are specifically looking for. And I also want to be very clear with you that we are still calling for the resignation of both Governor Northam, as well as Attorney General Herring. What has also become abundantly clear, as you stated, is that the group, or both men, have stated emphatically that they are refusing to resign. While we've heard that from Governor Northam, and Attorney General Herring has said that in so many ways as well. So what we've committed to, and it's not just myself, as you alluded to, it's a group of Black politicals and elected officials and community leaders from across the Commonwealth. We are calling for action behind those words. It's not enough just for him to apologize. It's not enough for him to just say, I'm sorry, and I quote-unquote want to lead this discussion on race and equity. We believe that it is him exercising his white privilege and stating that he wants to lead a conversation and discussion about equity and race when he's the one who had blackface on. So he's not qualified to do that. In fact, he needs to listen more than he talks right now. So there are a variety of different things that we're looking for. One specifically, we're looking for Governor Northam to create a business equity fund to help boost and support minority-owned businesses with an emphasis on African-American-owned businesses. We're calling for Governor Northam, as well as Attorney General Herring, to meet with African-American and indigenous stakeholders from across the Commonwealth, and he has to apologize in person, as well as listen to how deep the wound has been spread open from his words and their actions. We're also calling for both of them to emphatically call for all Confederate monuments, the statues, to be removed from public spaces throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. Both men, in so many different ways, have tiptoed around the matter, and we're calling for them to straight up and down say and encourage their friends in the General Assembly to do so. Next, we're calling Next up, we're calling for we want to underscore and endorse the request of Brown, Virginia's call for the creation of a governor's commission on African American families. And the purpose of that is to advise the governor, as well as the General Assembly, as well as work directly with state agencies to improve and expand existing policies. And then one of the items that's been getting the most attention, Governor Northam raised nearly $36 million in his campaign. So in his election campaign. So we're looking for him to raise nearly $25 million and provide all 5 of the historically Black colleges and universities in the Commonwealth a $5 million grant, or raise the money however he so chooses to see fit. Those 5 institutions, Virginia State University, Norfolk State University, Hampton University, Virginia Union University, and the Virginia University of Lynchburg, all 5 HBCUs, deserve to have compensation from this gap. It's not enough, again, for him to say that he's sorry. He needs to put resources behind his words. And then there's a litany of other things where we're talking about items in regards to looking at how he can more boldly stand up against white supremacy and just be an individual who puts actions behind his words. There are a lot of people calling for reconciliation and healing, but there can be no reconciliation without reallocation of resources. And I think it's also important for us to note, while we have included vehemently and made a clear stand in regards to the governor as well as Attorney General Herring, we have also included in our demands, or in our press release yesterday, we included statements and acknowledged the situation going on with Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. We are watching it very closely. We have stated emphatically also that this man, Justin Fairfax, deserves to have due process, while also acknowledging the fact that the women who have accused Lieutenant Governor Fairfax of these very serious allegations deserve to be heard. But we have a judicial process, we have a legal process that both Mr. Fairfax as well as his accusers have called for. So let's allow that to play out without passing judgment. So essentially, that's that, and we're calling for the entire Commonwealth to join us tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. in front of the governor's mansion for our official protest. The governor was scheduled to have a Black History Month celebration, in which after our press release, he's canceled. Everybody got the email today, but we're still calling for everyone to come out tomorrow, and our voices will be heard.
All right, Councilman West Bellamy, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, let's talk about another sexual assault allegation, this time against A.J. Calloway. He has been suspended by Warner Brothers as host of the TV show Extra. This suspension comes as multiple women came forward with sexual misconduct allegations against him. 2 women came forward with similar allegations last year and last month. Calloway was suspended Saturday just before The Hollywood Reporter was set to publish the new allegations against him. Calloway is denying all of these claims and is looking forward to clearing his name, according to his attorney. I want to go back to our panel. So I want to talk about this story as well. And so, one woman filed a complaint with police in December, and then you have several other allegations. Warner Brothers say they did an investigation, and they found nothing taking place on the show, on the lot, things along those lines. And so, again, what jumps out, Scott, I ask you is, allegations are made. What it comes down to is, how do you prove it?
Well, you prove it through documentary evidence. You prove it through interviewing what we call third-party witnesses. That is, if the woman was sexually abused in some way, how soon did she tell someone, right? Because the timing lends itself to authenticity. Did she go to the hospital? Did she take a rape kit? Did she tell? How many people did she tell? And then is there any physical evidence on her body that shows that she was either bruised or assaulted in some way? These are really sensitive cases. You know, it's troubling. I believe deeply in the Me Too movement, but these allegations are coming out against these men. I just wonder whether, you know, men have been pursuing women and wanting to date women or even sleep with women since the beginning of time, if you will. And is the Me Too movement creating a platform for women who either didn't like being pursued or may have done something they didn't want to do, not necessarily against their will, but maybe not physically against their will, but mentally against their will?
So I'll give an example. So Salah Abrams, who is a domestic violence activist, I know Salah. She's also an author. Now, she accused A.J. Calloway of sexual assault in 2006. At the time, he was arrested, but the case was dismissed on procedural grounds. And nothing else came forward from that. And so she made a statement saying, quote, "I was disappointed to read the false, when the Hollywood Reporter reported her story. Calloway said, "I was disappointed to read the false allegations about me in the Hollywood Reporter. As I've maintained from the beginning, these allegations are not true. When I was first notified about these allegations by law enforcement more than a decade ago, I fully cooperated from the beginning, and the case was dismissed." And so, again, from a legal standpoint, Spencer, I want you to weigh in as well. How do you deal with if the allegation was made and then no charges were filed, case dropped, but then the allegations are still made years later?
Yeah, it has the taint of unfairness, quite frankly. These cases are tough. When we would get these cases in, we look for corroboration, right? We also look at the character and the criminal history of both the complainant victim as well as the one that's being accused, right? And credibility is super important in the courtroom process. And if we find that there have been other allegations by the same person made against this individual or other individuals, that goes to credibility. If we find that she's got a criminal record or the accuser has a criminal record of some sort or has anything that would affect her credibility in court or being by the grand jury, or if it even gets to a jury or even a judge, the other side can make hay of, then it's tough for us to bring those cases. How much evidence do we have? How credible are both people? And you know what? In the end, it's a judgment call, and it's a discretionary call.
And again, Spencer, in the 2006 case, Salah Abrams reported that he tried to force her head onto his lap and masturbated after placing her hand on his lap. And then another woman said, Daily Beast reported, one woman said that Calloway had lain on top of her after a party at his home and repeatedly tried to open her blouse and pull down her skirt. She said he tried to place her hands on him while he masturbated. That was in the New York Times. And so, again, when you take these cases, what we're dealing with is if most folks who don't even understand this, you have a criminal side,
Right.
you have a civil side, and then let's just be honest, you have a court of public opinion side.
Right. Whether it's politics or whether it's just, being a celebrity or whatever. And one issue with the celebrity piece is that there's not necessarily recourse in terms of a false allegation because of a heightened standard in terms of defamation when you have public figures. So when you have public figures, people have more freedom basically to say things that may or may not be true because of basically the
they
legal
have to know
standard.
that it's untrue before they can be civilly prosecuted.
Right. So now this other piece, though, Scott, I think there's an argument that would be made by some that, hey, we shouldn't attack the character of women, right? I think there's this argument that just because a woman has done something improper or whatever doesn't mean that she's not entitled to, you know, the benefit of the law, protection
her
of the
sexual
law.
history is irrelevant, and it is for the prosecution. It should be for the defense as well. I wasn't talking about her sexual history. I was talking about whether she's brought claims before that have been dismissed, whether she's done TROs and they've been granted, or people against her. Stuff like that goes to credibility.
Malik, final comment before I go to the next story.
Just to your point about, you know, we know that these cases are tried in the public. And this is exactly what we're dealing with now. Whether it was Kavanaugh, whether it's Fairfax, any of these cases, they are tried in the court of public opinion. And we have, and to your point about the Me Too movement, you know, I do think that we need to be mindful of that. When these sort of accusations come about, it doesn't matter on which side of the political aisle you're on. There are people who will be accused of these things, and we have to look at them, each case, apolitical, and make a decision, you know, a determination whether or not we believe them.
But can you look at it in an apolitical way? I mean, isn't politics caught up with the Kavanaugh piece, et cetera? I mean, what's interesting about this latest piece is that you've got two big Democratic factions in terms of women and in terms of black folks are really kind of in different spaces in terms of this particular.
And if you look at those two groups in comparison to where they were with Kavanaugh, I would say that there's a difference in where they are. And even I would go further to say that that Christine Blasey Ford was depicted or talked about in ways that the two black female accusers have not been.
Yeah, but I think in all seriousness, Kavanaugh was different in this regard. That sure, we believed Dr. Ford, right? But what women and Democrats were really upset about was that the Republicans' refusal to investigate and find out whether he was an alcoholic or drank too much, and whether he actually committed this act or not. He may have still been elected to the Supreme Court after that investigation. It would have been a tougher vote for the Republicans, but he may have. And I think that incensed people that they didn't care.
And so what you have is you don't have a political party, Republicans or Democrats, fighting an investigation when it comes to Fairfax. And so I think that is one of the issues there. I do want to ask y'all about this here. Of course, Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, saying he is going to go on a listening tour of Virginia, which is sort of weird because prior to being governor,
too late.
Prior to being governor, he was lieutenant governor. So it's not like you're not aware of the state. And of course, one of the first places he's going to go is HBCU, Virginia Union, in Richmond.
How arrogant of him. That's white privilege. How can he, who wore blackface and was comfortable in that environment...
Now, hold up. So he said that wasn't me in blackface or in the Klan hood.
But here's the problem.
But it was his page.
That's right.
And then, according to the yearbook, the students submitted their own photos to their page.
For you, right? Whether he's right or wrong, what he told you in the first instance when he conceded that it was him and then said it was wrong shows you that it could have been him. And that he believed it could have been him.
First of all,
and so therefore,
the addition lives. And then, of course, he said he's going to hire some investigators to find out who was on his page.
No, we're going to find out that he was the Klansman. That's what we're going to find out.
Now, don't you think there's going to be a conflict between administrators and students? Like, when you go down there, the administrators are going to be like, cool out, let's just get this money. And, like, the students are just going to be up in arms talking over him,
and that's the thing that I think that Malik, that's important. Because look, y'all probably saying, because I recently spoke at William & Mary College in Virginia, so I did their MLK program there.
Wearing
so
their shirt today.
Calm the hell down. So I told him, I said, all right, I'm going to wear your shirt on the show. But I've probably spoken at now 50 plus HBCUs. And and many of them are public HBCUs.
So you've earned that shirt.
And I've earned all the shirts out there. But here's what's interesting. And I've been in that position, being a speaker, when you're critical of state officials, especially whether they're Republican or Democrat, but especially when they're Republican. But when you're critical of state officials at a state university, and they are dependent on state funds.
Right.
And so what you're going to have here is Governor Ralph Northam going to a public HBCU where the president and the administration and the board of trustees have to go to Richmond in order to get increase in funding. That's, I mean, and that's really, so yes, to Spencer's point, the administration's gonna be like this here.
Welcome.
And the student's gonna be like, getting that ass.
Right.
You know, so this thing with
And if y'all want me to moderate the listening tour,
that would be awesome.
I'll be happy to ask a few questions.
You know, this whole idea of the tour, I'm assuming he's talking to whomever his team or experts or whomever.
They ain't black.
You know, well,
soft audience, too.
I would imagine. You know, but one of the things that, you know, I was talking to some friends about this, you know, as we talk about racism, as we talk about blackface and what these sort of things mean, you know, I wonder, and I haven't looked it up myself, but I wonder as far as Northam's history, you know, I didn't realize, you know, he was a lieutenant governor, but as far as his history in the state, do his policies match what we assumed to be his racist history? You know, outside of the blackface, as far as his policies, what have his policies been in the state of Virginia throughout this time? And have they been advantageous to blacks or not? He was elected, I'm assuming.
And this is where the nuance is critically important. Because when you look at the polling data where 58% of African Americans say he should stay, I keep trying to explain this to people, and especially to a lot of white Republicans who don't understand. Black people are extremely astute at politics. And what black people are saying, they're going, okay, hold up. Nah, his ass wore blackface. He the number one. The Attorney General wore blackface. He the number three. I absolutely believe, had the allegations against Fairfax not come up, it would be 75% say Northam ass gotta go. But black folks are going, now wait a minute. Now, the number one got issues, the number two got issues, number three got issues, and the number four in line is a Republican.
Right.
Black folks went to the polls like crazy. Not only that, Northam had an issue because there was a pipeline in a black community that Northam was not against.
Right.
Fairfax was against it.
Right.
As a result, Northam, or a group supporting Northam, took Fairfax's photo off of a flyer saying who we should vote for, who we should support. He got criticized for that big time. A lot of black folks are like, I don't know about Northam but massive turnout for Fairfax. I think black folks in Virginia are making a political decision by saying we are not going to hand the state house over to a Republican because of the issues with these three. What they're saying is, bite the bullet, bite my tongue, I'm gonna tolerate you, but the flip side, you can only serve governor for one time in Virginia as well. I think that's the nuances that happen in Virginia.
That's a pretty sophisticated process.
And black folks,
the average voter,
but black folks,
the average voter doesn't
not true,
and intellectualize their voting like that. They simply do not.
No,
you give them way too much credit.
No, I'm not.
They don't understand blackface.
No, I'm not.
They don't understand blackface.
That's black.
Hold up. Say it. Say that.
If you look at black folks crossing over
to
vote in the Republican primary,
Sustain.
vote for in Mississippi, for Thad.
Okay. So everybody at home,
so that the conservative, extremely conservative person wouldn't win.
So everybody at home.
Tea Party guy.
Thad Cochran got into a runoff about 3 years ago, and this was the choice. You had old Thad Cochran, Republican, or you had crazy, deranged, racist Tea Party Chris McDaniel. Black folks are like, okay, now Democrat not gonna win.
Right.
We gonna have Republican or racist Republican. Black folks crossed
to vote for
Thad Cochran. They said we gonna keep that bigot out.
Yeah.
Black folks are that sophisticated. And those and those numbers were not small.
And these people, and when my mother was one of those. Never voted for a Republican.
Your mom was a Republican too?
No, my mother was one of those who crossed to vote for Thad Cochran. She was one of many because Chris McDaniel was who was running against Cochran was that much worse. You have to consider that in Thad Cochran's case, he had been the senator for 40+ years or something, so they were very familiar with him, but they did cross over to vote for Thad Cochran. And what people don't know, what the favor, if you will, that Thad Cochran returned that people don't talk about is that he was one of the votes for Loretta Lynch.
Oh, no, hold on. No, we talk about it. Oh, no, we talk about it because I, along with Jeff Johnson
Did you?
and Jamal Bryant, led a group of almost 200 black men to the Capitol to knock on those doors, to specifically go talk to those Republicans.
Wow.
And we went to Thad Cochran's office.
Okay.
And his staff asked us, because we literally had about 30 of us in his office. They asked us to step out in the hallway. We said no. They said he didn't have time to meet. We said, we ain't leaving. Then there was another group of women, and one of them was a black woman. And the black woman said, oh, well, we have a 15-minute appointment with the senator. We'll give them half of our time. Wow. The white girl at the desk said, no, you can't do that.
Oh, you can't do that. No.
So we said, we ain't leaving until we see Senator Thad Cochran. And then probably about 20 minutes later, they were like, these black men ain't leaving.
You rolled them out.
They were like, okay, so we're going to go to the conference room right down the hall and then shuffle Thad Cochran, Pelican ears. And we sat there, and I think we periscoped it. So y'all can go find us on Periscope. And we said, I said, now, Senator, let me remind you, you are only here because of black people. You would have lost. So we fully expect you to vote for Loretta Lynch, or we going to come back. And he said, I've already made my decision. He says, I'm not going to reveal it. I said, well, you're not going to reveal it, but we fully expect you to say the name yes to Loretta Lynch. Because if you don't, we going to be back. So let me remind you again, you are only here because black people crossed and voted for you.
And he voted for it.
Oh, yeah, he did. Because he was damn sure not going to have 200 black men come back to his office if he didn't vote for the sister. That's what happened.
You may be right. My analysis may be limited.
No, shocker. Shocker, really? You don't want me.
Right about
you walk right into that one. You ain't want me to start on that one.
But Spencer actually got that one in. Spencer brought the Mississippi.
He go on CNN and talk about how black folks don't really have the sophistication.
That bullshit will work at CNN and Fox News. That ain't gonna work here.
What's the next topic?
That ain't gonna work here. That ain't gonna. I'm letting you know.
Let's just move on.
Try with them white TV anchors.
Here we go.
That's right. Don Lennon might fall for that one, not me. Not me. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. The newly elected House of Representatives, of course, run by Democrats, is the most diverse in history. Now, the Congressional Black Caucus, they, of course, also have 2 senators and 53 House members. But a report last year by Spencer Overton's Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies found that the staff of the last Congress was not as diverse as the members themselves. In fact, if you looked at, really, on the Senate side, you had more black folks in key positions on the Republican side than all of those damn white senators. All right, so Spencer, now, of course, it was also last year when Senator Chuck Schumer said, oh, we're going to have the Rooney Rule. And that was also interesting.
But let's go back to why that happened, right? Like you in New York and your conversation with him.
Well, but before that, we had you on the show. We were talking about it and pushing it. So I gave the keynote speech to the black and Puerto Rican legislators in Albany. And I made it perfectly known. I'm about to get in that ass on the lack of black staffers. And so they already told me that Schumer had to go and he wasn't going to be there for the speech. So I'm sitting there and I'm at the table, and then Schumer comes up, and what comes out of his mouth? So I want to let y'all know, we going to have the Rooney Rule in the Senate. I'm sitting there going like, Somebody said he about to get in your ass if you don't. All of a sudden, he announced the Rooney Rule. But I interviewed him after, like, okay, what's up with that? But on the House side,
Right.
so the same thing. Democrats take control, which means staff,
Right.
committee staff. All these new jobs open up.
Right.
What are we looking like?
Well, we're looking at about 300 new top spots. So there are a couple things that happened. Number one, the Democrats got twice as many committee spots as a whole staff spots because they came into the majority, right? And then there's this other piece where you have about 100 new members, and as a result, you have about 300 new top spots in their offices. So what we're seeing from a trend standpoint, Roland, is Senate is relatively flat. There wasn't much change in the Senate. On the House side, we saw a slight increase in terms of diversity. So, for example, in the old House with the staff, about 14% of the folk were people of color. The country's 38% people of color. These new members, 21% of the new House members, their top staff are people of color. So 21%
So
of
is
the
that
top.
an increase? That's an increase.
Slight increase here.
Well, but also keep in mind, you also have more people of color who are Democrats.
Yeah, that is true. Although even among Dems, the old number was about 25% of their top staff were people of color. In this new class, 29% of the new Democrats are people, their top staff is people of color. So it's a slight increase. Certainly not up to 38% like we'd like to see, and so certainly much more work
What do
to
you
do.
attribute that to?
Pressure?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think disclosure and pressure, we just have to keep.
But you're undercounting, though. You said you'd love for it to be higher.
Well,
you've only had a slight increase,
right.
but you've had a huge increase in diversity in the House. So why aren't those numbers matching the
Right.
increase in the House?
Right, and the increase in diversity has largely been in terms of Democrats. So remember when I said that number went from 25 to 29? A lot of that diversity before was CBC members and CHC members, really CBC members. Like white folks, their districts, white Democrats, their districts on average were 37% people of color, and yet only 8% of their top staff were people of color, right? So white Democrats are really the offenders. We haven't broken it down yet to figure out the white Democrats in the new class, how are they doing? That's something we got to look at.
But also, Malik, you've been experiencing something also interesting because you've been going to these Republicans trying to get black Republicans to apply for these jobs, and you've been having a problem.
Yeah, I met with the chief of staff and the staffing director on the Republican side for my home state senator, can't remember his last name.
Damn.
Oh, yeah, Mississippi. I can't remember his last
from
name.
Mississippi?
Absolutely.
Cindy Hyde-Smith.
But in addition to Cindy Hyde-Smith, I also met with the office of the Republican senator there, the male senator there as well. And we talked, one of the things that we talked about was staffing. I went in talking about diversity and staffing in their offices. And so I have gone about myself, just on my own, just reaching out to people, just telling them about the opportunities. I haven't had I haven't had really any positive feedback on that. There could be several reasons for that because there have been efforts before to pool resumes and they don't go anywhere. That could be the reason. Part of it is because I'm a new Republican, so I don't have the same, maybe I don't have the same trust, but I know you have something.
I just want to say something that's happened in the Senate that's largely, I think, stimulated by the presidential race, right? When we looked at the numbers on the Senate side before, there were 2 black top staff who were Republican and only 1 who was a Democrat, right? Only recently have Democrats pulled ahead of Republicans in the terms of top black staff, right? So recently, on the Senate side, Gillibrand hired a top chief of staff who's black. So did Elizabeth Warren. And really in the last year, we have had 3 black chiefs of staff on the Democratic side. Before that, we didn't have any.
Now, let me explain this, okay, to the folks who are at home watching, and you're like, okay, this is all inside politics. This has absolutely no bearing on me whatsoever. Do you understand? That's an absolute lie. To understand politics, you have to understand staff plays a huge role when it comes to policy, when it comes to positions and how certain decisions are made. If you go back to the Supreme Court case involving Muhammad Ali. When the Supreme Court initially was going to rule against Ali when it came to him choosing not to go to Vietnam, it was a clerk who actually convinced the Supreme Court justice to change his opinion. Staff is crucial in this space, but not just when it comes to that. You have to think broader and down the road. When you talk about Washington, D.C. staff, these are the people who are going to, in the future, run for a political office, whether it's Congress, whether it's state legislators, city councilmen, county commissioners, governors, whatever you want to call it. Second, these are the people who are also hired in critical corporate America positions. And so when they leave Washington, D.C., they get hired in corporate America, in public policy shops, to become lobbyists. When it comes to PR and government relations. And so what happens is, when you leave a congressional job, all of a sudden you get hired to run somebody's entire office or division, guess what? You are now hiring 10, 20, 30, 40 people. And so if we have more African Americans in these critical positions as chief of staff, legislative director, communications director, that's where people are tapping for other jobs in corporate America. And so you can't just think just these jobs in Congress, in the House, and the Senate. You have to understand the impact that goes beyond that. Spencer, real quick.
Just also these commissioners and people who are appointed to positions. Stephen Breyer, Supreme Court Justice, you know, key Senate staffer here. You know, basically people understand the process so they know how to get nominated, and know how to get appointed and get through the process.
All right,
so,
folks.
yes.
This is Black History Month, of course, and of course we have a new history maker out of North Carolina. Sherry Beasley is the new Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. She was named to the post today by Democratic North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. She becomes the first black woman to hold the position. She was formerly an Associate Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. When Cooper appoints her replacement, there will be 6 judges appointed by a Democratic governor and 1 appointed by a Republican governor. Now, let me also explain to you what happened. The Republicans in the legislature in North Carolina, they have been so nasty and so despicable how they have led. They tried, when the Democrats got a 4-3 majority in the Supreme Court, they then tried to take all the power from the North Carolina Supreme Court, give it to the court right below them. That was thwarted. The reason this position opened up, because it was a Republican who resigned in order for the governor to be able to appoint a new Supreme Court justice. Because even some of the Republican judges in North Carolina have been ashamed of what the Republican legislature has done over the past several years. And of course, again, this is also what happens when you vote, because these things also matter. Got to go to a break. We come back, more on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. All right, folks, calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders. Enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB Life. That's FGB Life. That's the website right there. FGB Life for more info and to apply. That's for Scott, who sometimes can't pay attention. Ford goes further in our community. All right, folks, let's talk about a story out of Arkansas where, you know, Donald Trump keeps talking about Muslims and how that's the problem in illegal immigrants. No, we got a white people problem. A huge federal indictment coming out of Arkansas late this afternoon. 54 members of a white supremacist gang were charged with solicitation of murder, kidnapping, maiming, and conspiracy to distribute amphetamines. So a white supremacist violent meth gang was started in prison and expanded beyond. Oh, no, this is not MS-13. These are white people, okay? These are white people, this particular gang here. And I'm bringing this up, Malik, because look, the Trump administration, when they came in the Department of Justice, shifted some dollars away from white domestic terrorists. We can go down the line. The white man in New York who killed a black man with a sword. When it came to the white dudes in, I think it was Kansas, who wanted to blow up a mosque. I mean, we can go on and on and on. You get a problem with white domestic terrorists in America, and we know what that means. But this administration doesn't seem to understand that.
Well, I think we have a problem with violence, period. You know, this is, I don't know how many similar incidents do we have of a white meth gang that's kind of, that's white supremacist.
But politically motivated violence is different than just violence, man. When we're saying certain people are targeted, and this is a bigger problem than, you know, the Islamic issue, the thing that they make the big issue of, this white domestic homegrown terrorism, just in the numbers and in the threats, it's a bigger issue.
Yeah, but I don't think we're not dealing with that. I don't think we're not prosecuting those cases.
Well,
I don't
we've
think
taken resources away
but I don't think, we're not, are we not still prosecuting those cases? Are those cases not being heard, or?
Well, actually, if I look at these cases, you might be able to prosecute more of them if you have the investigative dollars to further uncover their wrongdoing.
Yeah, his point was that they were taking money, and as a result, you have less resources.
They literally shifted money away from focus on domestic white terrorists over to Muslims.
But I think when we're talking about things like domestic terrorism, I don't think that that whatever funds that may have been diverted or removed or whatever, I don't think that, at least I haven't seen anything to say that it's actually affecting investigating these sort of crimes. I mean, this is pretty obvious.
Okay, but my point is, if you keep having these examples,
why
would you take money away?
Yeah, I mean, but why they did that, I don't know.
No, and let me just also say this. I mean, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, right, this notion of, hey, your lives don't matter, we're not going to enforce the law as rigorously against these people who are undermining your lives. To me, that's a problem.
But I don't know if we're doing that, though. You know,
the fact that he's saying
that we diverted,
we're shifting money away from people who target Muslims,
but we're not shifting money,
folks,
but we're not prosecuting any of those crimes.
But if you reduce those resources, but let me ask you this: who do you think America's domestic terrorists are? Who do you think is killing more cops out here, in part because of domestic terrorism?
When you say who you're talking about?
Who do you think are America's domestic terrorists? You think it's black people or white people?
Well, they're
or
more
brown people.
Well, they're more
or
white,
Muslims.
Well, there are more white people in America. Period.
So what? I'm asking you.
But I don't have a. I don't really.
You don't know the answer.
Well,
to that.
I don't know the answer. And who's the greatest domestic threat? You know, I guess
whether it's Oklahoma,
white people.
Right. Thank you.
But there are more white people. Period.
No.
What group shoots more police officers than any other group in America?
White people.
I don't know the number there, but there are more white people in America, though.
But when you have a white dude in Kentucky who goes into a grocery store and specifically he kills a black couple, because I'm looking for some black people to kill. No, we have numerous examples of this, and I'm just simply saying is, if you're going to be spending dollars, what I'm saying is this administration loves focusing on Muslims and illegal immigrants. What I'm saying is you better focus on white domestic terrorists. And the reason I'm using that phrase, for example, is because had this been 54 Muslims, oh my God, man, please, you would have, it would be a total, and all I'm saying is we treat a terrorist incident involving somebody who is Muslim or who is an undocumented worker different than these white domestic terrorists. That's all I'm saying.
But they arrested them too, by the way.
No. I'm not surprised. I'm just calling it out. All right? Okay, folks. We always talk about the issue of health and getting healthy. And so I told you earlier the year I did the D-Herbs Full Body Cleanse. And so 20 days on a full body cleanse. Lord have mercy. So we want to bring back A.D. Dolphin. He's the CEO of D-Herbs. He joins us right now. A.D., what's happening?
Hey, how you doing, Roland?
All right. So I got to ask you this question. So for a lot of people who do the cleanse and who go through it, what then happens after that in terms of, numbers of them staying with it or being able to maintain the weight loss and things along those lines? What have you been able to see?
Absolutely. First of all, the purpose of the cleanse, the purpose is to help you change your lifestyle. So I'm sure that after your cleanse, you found, and also during your cleanse, you found some wonderful things to eat during that process. And the purpose of it is hopefully some of those things will stick to you and help you continue to have a healthier lifestyle.
Okay, so when we talk about, again, the cleanse and it's cleansing different body parts. So explain that, because, again, you have these 6 different pills you're taking.
Right.
What does it actually do to your body?
No problem. So the purpose of the cleanse is to clean out all your major eliminative channels. That's your gallbladder, your heart, your liver, your colon, your spleen, your lungs, your kidneys, your adrenal glands, your blood, and your skin. It's going to help you filter out all the waste from those particular areas of your body so your body can function on a higher level. So
let's talk about high blood pressure and diabetes. How are folks with that? How are they impacted by doing a full body cleanse?
Wow, it's such an issue, especially within our community. You're talking about 36 to 38% of the African Americans out there have diabetes. 42% of us have high blood pressure. It's such an issue. And we're literally eating our way into sickness. So what I mean by that is it's coming from the things that we eat. So therefore, if you change your lifestyle, and that's where the cleanse really comes into play, because it's going to help you change that lifestyle. It's going to help clean out your system. It's going to help you reset your body. So therefore, you can live a healthier lifestyle. We're always living these sickly lives. And we're going out. It's like almost a thing of the past when people used to pass in their sleep. People are now dying in the hospitals and dying from diseases, and we're literally doing it to ourselves.
Scott, did he do a cleanse or something like that?
No. I thought you said you did, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I did.
It's not clear that you did it.
Well, I tell you what. I wish the full body cleanse could lead to some growth in height.
Well, it won't do that. But I do have a question. I'm familiar with the D herbs, but Doc, I have been off sugar, voluntarily added sugar, for about 6 months now.
I saw you with a piece of cake in the green room.
No, I was not. Stop it. And I'd like for you to talk about, you know, you've got the cleansing stuff, but the importance of limiting the amount of sugar you're putting in your system as it relates to diabetes, high blood pressure, and some of the other elements that the majority of African Americans suffer from.
Absolutely. First of all, you said artificial sugar.
Yeah.
And you're off of that, right? So that's a beautiful, beautiful start, because that's what a lot of people don't understand. Sugar, that relates to diabetes. Mm-hmm. So that relates to high blood pressure. We're literally doing it to ourselves. It's our diet. It's the diet that we've been given in the past that's playing such a role in our health right now. So we literally have to go back and change the way that we eat. And I think it's beautiful that you started in that process. How has that affected your body thus far?
Well, I will tell you this.
He's still pudgy.
No, not at all. Over 6 months, I've lost about 15 pounds. But I will tell you this, physiologically, it took me about 6 weeks to really get off sugar, in the sense that I was feeling better and normal. When I was reducing it on a daily basis, Roland, don't jump on this, but I was mentally foggy and really had I had a number of headaches, and it really took me a minute to feel normal after eliminating, I said added as well as artificial sugar from my body, and I thought it took longer than normal. You know, we're all sugar addicts, as I've read, and we're addicted. You know, the mice are addicted to cocaine, and they're addicted to sugar. Their brains light up the same way.
And you're absolutely right. People don't understand. Sugar is probably the #1 drug in America.
Exactly.
So many people are plagued because of sugar. It's crazy. So, and the cleanse will definitely help you eliminate those cravings to some degree, but it definitely takes work on your part.
All right, then.
Thank you.
All right, then. Y'all got Malik.
So
go ahead,
after
Spencer, go ahead.
Cleanse, how do you get back into not get back into, but start a good routine? So,
well, actually, no, I'll tell you. It was even after the 20 days, because first of all, doing it, you can only do raw vegetables, fruits, and nuts. And then of course it was like tons of water you're drinking. And so because you've been doing it for 20 days, it sort of became habit forming. So you didn't naturally reach for a bag of chips. You didn't naturally reach for some cookies, because first of all, most of that stuff not even in your house. So one, it's not there.
Right.
But also, because when you were traveling, you couldn't eat this stuff anyway. So you were used to, okay, when I'm going to the store, getting this, getting that, things along those lines. And so it really, it changed you mentally, sort of how you sort of approach food. And then that played a role in terms of how you then begin to say, okay, so I was doing lots of the fruit smoothies. So probably 10 days after, I was still doing 2 smoothies a day because it just became sort of habit for me. Yeah, shut your ass up.
Pudgy?
First of all, we don't want to talk about muscle mass out of the two of us.
Mass. You look awfully pudgy over here.
Who got muscle mass?
I got plenty of muscle mass.
Boy, please. Okay, all right.
Death.
And you know what, Roland, it's exactly what you said.
Go ahead.
Roland, it's exactly what you said. It takes 21 days to break a habit, so therefore that's something that happens during that cleansing process. Like exactly what you said. Instead of reaching for that soda, you're reaching for that water. Instead of eating those bag of chips, you're having a healthier meal. It's become habit forming.
All right, folks out there, of course, if you want to try it, all you got to do is go to therbs.com, therbs.com. The number to call is 1-866-4DHERBS, 1-866-4DHERBS. You can use the promo code Roland. AD Dolphin, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. You guys have a good one. And I love the topic.
All right. Thanks a bunch. And then, of course, we'll love to see Scott lift something heavier than 20 pounds. It ain't going to happen.
My fat reduction plan.
It ain't going to happen.
ain't got one.
It's not going to happen at all. Then again, that's how it is when you 5'5".
Here we go. He goes.
That's how it is when you 5'5". Are you taller than Kevin Hart?
I'm 5'8", and yes.
Are you taller than Kevin Hart?
Next to Kevin Hart before. I'm 3 inches taller.
You looked up to him?
No, I didn't. I looked down on him. I'm
Yeah.
5'8".
Okay. All right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
I'm 5'7".
Yeah. Okay. You see how we see? So he already started lying. So y'all know he's really 5'5". Y'all know
5'7".
Y'all know he's 5'5". All right, y'all. Let me tell you about this story real quick here. On this university campus. This took place at Eastern Michigan University on Monday afternoon. In one of the university's dorms, a black doll was found hanging from a shower rod. A resident advisor of the freshman dorm found the doll in the bathroom that is shared by suite mates. University police immediately began investigating and discovered a guest of one of the suite mates hung the doll. Now, the guest claimed it was a joke and said that it was not done in racist or malicious intent. School officials don't consider it a joke and are taking it very seriously, saying there's no place for racist or hateful actions on their campus. Students held a demonstration on campus to condemn such acts. It is not the first time this incident like this has happened on campus. In 2016, the school faced backlash after someone graffitied the school several times saying KKK or go home nigger. The Black Student Union and the school's NAACP chapter protested on campus several times during that time to fight the racism on their campus. All right, folks, last night I was in New York for National Cares Mentoring Movement Gala. Of course, Susan Taylor launched this initiative 14 years ago. It was Essence Cares. And then, of course, when she retired from Essence, she took over the particular initiative as well. And so one of the folks they honored, it was an honorary chair. Who else they honored her was, of course, Alicia Keys. It was an amazing event, sold out, hundreds of thousands of dollars actually raised for the National Cares Mentoring Project. And so here is some of what took place last night.
Power of possibility and the power of creativity and the power of having an outlet, you know, to express yourself through is so important. And I know better than anybody, growing up in New York City, going to public school, same as you. You know what I mean? And to be able to have true support and to be able to have people that see you and recognize you for who you are and the gifts that you have to give. Stunning, by the way. It's so validating and it's so imperative and it's so important. And that's why this night is so empowering and so powerful. And that's why Miss Taylor, you know, she knew how she wanted to end this evening with this very powerful statement of what happens when we are supported and what happens when we can understand our greatness and what happens when our potential is celebrated and what happens when people care enough about us to pay attention to what we can be, you know? And it's so important that you know, in a world where we're so quick to turn our back on young people, we're so quick to throw them away and lock away the key when all they really need and all we all really need is a mentor. All we need is somebody to listen. And it is so incredibly powerful for me to stand in this room with so many people who care so much about making sure that we're looking at our communities and we're looking at our young people and we're looking at each other and we're actually seeing each other and taking a moment to talk with each other and build with each other and create relationships and community and trust. Oh my God, trust. Like how many of us don't have anybody we can trust? Nobody. Nobody that we can go to at any moment who will care for us truly, you know? So this is powerful beyond belief. And I so believe in the work that is happening in this room.
Tonight, it's a gathering on behalf of families not so fortunate as our own. You know, and I want to thank our sponsors. You are here, you're sprinkled, but we couldn't even do this without our sponsors. And you all have been so very generous. And we bow down to you. You're going to see your names displayed boldly and brilliantly. Because it takes resources to do this work. I really want to just say that the CARES programmatic works, they're built to heal the traumas of poverty. Poverty so that struggling children and families are not lost at sea. Linking arms and aims, we are their lifeline. We can and we must bring them to safe harbor. We can do this work. And if not us, then who? And yes, true, some of the children we meet are hard. They're hard because their lives are hard. But hardened hearts can be healed. Alice Walker said it so simply and profoundly. Anything you love, you can heal. Anything you love, you can heal. So this is our guiding belief. It's not a mission, it's a mandate. You know, showing our children that they are loved, that we will not let them fall. You know, the CARES curricula are built to unearth their hope, their resilience, their self-esteem and courage, and the love for learning that all young people must have in order to thrive.
Because Susan Taylor has dared to declare war on impoverishment. She has dared to declare that we must take a stand for our future. The queen of compassion and consciousness, Susan Taylor, in declaring this war, is now recruiting each and every one of you, just as she has done these amazing soldiers of love who grace the stage. Will you be a soldier of love, especially in this atmosphere infected by so much hate? A soldier of love recognizes that love is caring, love is careful, and love knows how to take care of. Love gives and forgives, and that is what we need. In this atmosphere of hate, where many are finding themselves enslaved by impoverishment, and therefore we need soldiers of love who will rise to the occasion in the tradition of our ancestors. For Frederick Douglass says, it is much better to build strong children than repair broken adults. We need soldiers of love. That Carter G. Woodson, who suggested that we become what we behold. How can you see it? How can you be it if you never see it? We need soldiers of love. And so we recruit you as soldiers of love to finally remember that we are to be armed with the spirit of Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, why? Because today they have the unmitigated gall to go back and forth. Scholars are arguing over how many times she went back after she self-emancipated herself from the brutality of dehumanizing slavery in these disunited states of America. But check out, I don't care how many times back she went back. And what we are saying is that we as soldiers of love must have the Harriet Tubman spirit and have the sense to go back to communities that are underserved, have the sense to go back to communities that too often identify with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. It's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. And then they say, don't push me because I'm close to the... Y'all got that, don't you? I'm trying not to lose my head. We have to have the spirit of Harriet Tubman and go back. And when soldiers of love recognize the power of mentoring, who knows what will happen? Who knows?
All right, folks, and again, so a great event last night, and so we certainly want to thank Susan Taylor and all of her mentoring chapters from across the country, the great work that they are doing. Folks, remember in November, I went to Houston and I traveled there to hit the campaign trails. There's a group of 17 black women who ran for Harris County judge there in Houston. Here we go to my iPad. This was the photo that, of course, after they won, all 17 won. They talked about black girl magic. Well, just a couple days ago, I got news that Cassandra Holloman, of course, she was one of the judges. 57 years old, she passed away. Her mother had passed away last year. She considered not running, and she chose to stay on the ballot. Then a couple of months ago, she began to develop some serious health issues. This is Cassandra Holloman right here. This is one of the photos that we took. We were at Frenchie's there in Houston. It was the last stop. We hit about 10 different stops all around Harris County on that Saturday. And so I traveled with them, and we hit the AKAs and the links, all these different spots. And so Cassandra Holloman passed away at the age of 57 years old. A lot of folks, of course, in Harris County, Houston, stunned by her death. And so we wanted to certainly say our thoughts and prayers with her and her family as we remember them. And so she did not get a chance to serve long as a judge there, but certainly she made history with all of those sisters. And so we're just going to end the show, Fading to Black, on Cassandra Holloman. So again, prayers go out to her and all those other sisters who ran because they certainly miss one of their own when they made history in Harris County. Folks, I'll see you guys tomorrow from Charlotte actually, I'll be here. Thursday, I go to Charlotte for the NBA All-Star game. Be sure to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. And then last thing, when they sent me the text of this photo, they said, man, she loved herself some Roland Martin. And so Cassandra, certainly rest in peace and prayers to you and your family. Folks, y'all have a great evening. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.